Welcome to the last of the Col-Hi Wildcats 1982 podcast, brought to you by Dietzel Man Productions.
And
you go to college and you're on this all-star team. And so I would tell myself that really don't listen to that voice inside your head that tells you you're not good enough. And probably the other thing I would tell myself is get more sleep.
not everyone's gonna like you, but try to make them want you. Still working on that one.
People say, oh, I'm not going to have kids yet because it's not the right time, or I'm not going to get married yet because it's not the right time. Well, if you keep moving the goalposts in life, it's never going to be the right time. So enjoy your life.
Do what you love for a living. Figure out a way to make that work. Don't do something because it's what you're supposed to do or because it's going to be the most fun. You do something that makes you happy.
Take going to Landers for lunch. Sitting around Jeff Blair's Mustang 2 and listening to his tape of Creek Wall.
Hey, this is Scott Townsend. Welcome back to the last of the Col-Hi Wildcats 1982 podcast. And today, all the way from France, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Is Jeff Blair. Jeff, how's it going?
Great. How are you, Scott?
Yeah, man, I'm doing pretty good. Doing really good. This is so you're like 7 hours ahead of me right now, is that right? Or it's 11:12 here.
So. Yeah, it's 6:12. Just got home. I was a little bit late getting home.
You've been working all day, and I'm just now getting my day started here. So
that's cool. Why I look so old and tired. I've been working all day.
Oh man, well, it's great to have you on the show. I'm glad you did this. I know everyone's going to enjoy catching up with you and hearing what Jeff's been up to.
Well, it was certainly great for me to see everybody else's video. I really enjoyed it. I don't know how I even fell into it. I don't do Facebook or anything anymore. So I just something I got and started watching. I think I stayed up till 3 or 4 in the morning watching all the other videos. It was so interesting.
Oh yeah.
I've since watched. I think I've watched all of them. So
cool.
That's the ones that are available.
Well, okay. First question: softball. What did you have for breakfast this morning?
I had a piece of toast.
That's what I had.
Every day. Piece of toast with some good French sheep's cheese.
Oh, that's awesome. I had some cream cheese, which there's a big shortage of right now here in
the
US. Yeah, everybody's screaming about cream cheese being in short supply. So I don't know. We'll see. So you're in France.
Yes.
So let's get started here. Help me connect the dots between 1982 and now. What you've just graduated and you're off to.
Yeah. So I went to Oklahoma State. I decided, like when I was 12 years old, that I was going to be a veterinarian, and Oklahoma State was the place to go to be a veterinarian. So
yeah,
I went off to Stillwater and spent 7 years in Stillwater through undergrad and vet school. And I graduated vet school in 1989.
Oh, you and I graduated the same year. Okay.
Yeah. So what was your degree? I don't know. If
Journalism.
Journalism.
But I took the long route. I kind of fool around a little too much. Went to KU and then the OSU. Yeah. And got kicked out of OSU, and then they let me back in.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's another story, but yeah, so I sat out for about a year and then came back, and always the old joke, you've probably heard it on the other videos, is I went through, who would I tell this to? I went through 4 terms, the Ford, Reagan, Bush, and Clinton terms. Okay. But anyway.
Okay. Well, you finished.
I finished. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you, so you graduated 89?
I graduated, and then I went back to Bartlesville, and I worked for John Manley for a year
Oh, okay.
as a vet. Wanted to go back and get a doctorate. I had been working with one of my professors in vet school, and sort of decided at the last minute to not continue into a PhD program. And so I went out to Bartlesville to practice because I thought I needed to try that. So when I
Right.
tried that, it definitely confirmed my desire to continue into a more scientific side of veterinary medicine.
Oh, okay.
And so the next good way for me to go back to school was to join the Army. So I joined the Army as a vet and spent several years in the Army. Went all around the world, went from San Antonio to San Francisco to Italy, and then back to San Antonio. And
I wouldn't have
after
thought that the Army needed vets, but I
do.
guess they do.
Yeah, and so there are some military animals still left in the military. At least there were a long time ago, almost 20 years ago. I took care of the Marine Corps Mountain Warfare Training Center's mules. They had, when I was out in San Francisco, they have a training center out in the Sierra Nevadas, and they have a string of about 150 mules. So that was only a small part of what I did out there, but once a quarter I had to go out and spend 3 or 4 days with the Marine Corps helping with their mules.
That's cool.
But there are also the working dogs and the drug and bomb detection dogs, the guard dogs that are mostly at Air Force bases, and the Army is the only one with vets. So a lot of times we are the only Army person like I was at Travis Air Force Base near San Francisco and at a naval air station in Italy.
So you say that again, the Army is the only one that has the dogs?
The Army's the only one that has veterinarians.
Veterinarians, okay.
And then there's a big food inspection part of that as well.
Oh, okay. So there was I remember the dog. When I think of dogs, I think of the dog that attacked, was it Osama bin Laden or in the tunnels or
they found him? Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. Dog was pretty torn up or something like that, but they got him all fixed up.
I don't know that story, but it doesn't surprise me that a dog found him in that hole. Yeah.
So after the Army stint, you wound up
after the Army, I got with the Army, and they wanted me to go back overseas, and I thought it was time for me to go back and get my PhD. That's why I joined. They didn't agree. So I got out, and I went back into private practice around Texas and stayed in that for about 6 years. And then finally got to a point where I could go back to school, and I went back to Stillwater with full intention of going back to work for my old professor and continuing that project. Unfortunately, as soon as I got there, he had just been diagnosed with terminal lung cancer.
Oh man.
He died about 6 months later. It's not funny. I don't know why I'm chuckling, but it was a very sad time.
Yeah, I'll bet.
But I stayed on at OSU, and I found another project and was able to get a fellowship there. And I finished that PhD and got an offer from one of the veterinary pharmaceutical companies to start going to work in their R&D. And so I got my start with that company at a research site in Fulton, Missouri, where Jimmy Webb went to school and someone else sent their child to college there.
Yeah,
anyway,
somebody.
It's near Jeff City and not too far from St. Louis. With that company, they offered me a position over in France So I came to France with them. Um, Somewhere in there, I forgot to tell you, I had 2 children that were born. I have one son who's 29. His name is Garrett, and my daughter is 28, Lexi. Lexi's in San Antonio, and Garrett's in New York.
That's cool.
And so at that period of time, when I went back to grad school, I had been divorced. And I started seeing my current wife there, but we never really lived together. She was a professor at a vet school down in Mexico. And I got this opportunity to move to France, and we decided, if we were ever going to create a future together, she needed to come with me, and for her to come with me, we needed to be married. So we got married about 3 months before we moved to France. We still didn't live together. The first time we lived together, we arrived in France with 5 suitcases. And so we've been sort of doing the tour of France since then.
So how long was that? When was that?
That was in 2011.
2011. Okay.
No. And very soon after we got here, we found out she was pregnant. And our little girl was born. Her name is Isabel. Was born in July of 2012. So she's 9 now. And so I'm sort of having my second shot at fatherhood.
Yeah, that's great. When you're working as a vet, what is it about being a vet that you like? What did you always think about when you wanted to be a vet? What was it about that?
Well, there's the part of being able to take care of the animals and the interaction with their owners, and just sort of providing that service. It's sort of cool.
Mm-hmm.
That school was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. It was a big challenge. But what really turned me on was science and being able to sort of explore solutions on a bigger scale rather than, and I didn't dislike taking care of individual pets or horses or even cattle. But now I feel like I'm sort of doing that care, trying to put needed products for animals out there on the market.
Right, on a much larger scale.
Yeah, not so much in direct contact, but still sort of contributing to the profession.
So one of the things I wanted, one of the questions I had here was, I remember I took French in high school with Mrs. Bart. What was it like learning French? I mean, did you know it before you got there? Did you?
Oh yeah. Before I came to Bartlesville this time, before we graduated, when I was in 9th grade, and I moved there from Belgium. So I'd spent 5 years in Belgium.
Oh, wow.
And that's where I learned to speak French. And our 9th grade year, I walked down to the high school to take the highest level French class they had. And I finished that and never took French again in high school because they didn't have anything. Honestly, I wasn't really that interested in pursuing it.
Yeah.
I'm sure it would have created a special program for me, but I was like, no way, I want to play football.
Right. Okay, so start over. So I didn't know that. So maybe this is a good time to go back. So you're not from Bartlesville, or you are? Are you? Or
I don't know where I'm from, but when we moved to Bartlesville in 9th grade, that was the 4th time we had moved to Bartlesville
Oh,
since I had been born.
wow.
So my dad he got transferred a lot.
Yeah.
We had, and by that time we had moved probably 9 different cities.
Wow.
Belgium was the longest I had ever lived in one place until I got to Stillwater. And Stillwater is still the longest I've ever lived in one place.
Lovely. Yeah.
So I had been I was at Limestone for 4th and part of 5th grade, and became friends with Richard Whitmire, and all the Limestone kids, Lori and Tracy and Chris and all those folks. I sort of knew them when I came in 9th grade, but it was sort of an awkward time.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh, I didn't know that. Well, there you go. That's really interesting. So was he with Phillips or somebody?
Yeah.
Something?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Mindy Goodell talked about, was it Mindy Goodell talking about moving so much? And her dad was with Phillips and stuff like that. What's it like living in France? I mean, what are some of the advantages to living there versus here?
Oh, what's it like? They talk funny. But it's nice. I think we're settled here. I think we're more immigrants than expats now. Our life is here. My daughter's she's 9. That would be 3rd grade in the US, I think.
So does she speak? I'm sorry for being ignorant. I just don't know I don't know. Does she speak French or does she speak English? And
French is her first language.
Oh, okay.
So that's where I was going. This is our life here because our daughter, she is very French.
Yeah.
So French is her first language. She speaks English also, and Spanish. So my wife is Mexican, so we speak all 3 around the house. And when my daughter and I want to exclude my wife, we speak really quick, fast in French. And when they want to exclude me, they speak really fast in Spanish.
Oh man, I saw where in France, you guys have longer lunches than Americans. Is that right?
Oh, it's an overgeneralization.
Oh, okay.
I had long lunches when I was in the U.S.
So,
and most people, like I worked in Paris for 2 years, and boy, in that environment, we usually had a sandwich. There's a little cafeteria down where you could go eat your sandwich, but you take 15-20 minutes and you get right back on the desk. And
right. Oh, wow. So do they have is it true they have a 35-hour work week?
We do. And that's done by basically giving you more time off. It's not like you work, 35 hours in 1 week. So a lot of times people that work for me now, they'll work 45 hours 1 week, and then the next week we'll schedule them so they only work 32. But then they have I don't even know what RTT stands for in French, so I don't know how to tell you, but there is a category of basically vacation that you get every 2 months. So I get an extra 2 days off a month, and I can take a half day here, half day there. It's pretty convenient. But I think I get almost 30 days of vacation plus 13 days of that extra vacation a year. And they make you take it. I've had to, but now I'm old enough that I can put the extra time in a savings account, so I don't have to take all that time.
Yeah. Eating is probably a huge benefit in France, I can imagine. You guys have I looked it up, it's 27 restaurants with 3 Michelin stars. I mean,
France
the wine
is certainly known for haute cuisine, for the really fancy with the little bitty dish. They're very pretty. But if you go to a cafe here, you get a steak and fries. They're apart from the famous sort of haute cuisine, the big stuff. Just a second, excuse me, Paul.
Yeah, no problem.
Sorry.
It reminds me of that politician on TV when his little kid came in the back door and
Yeah.
his wife was trying to corral all the kids back inside the door.
But the French cuisine for average people, it's kind of, you see the same stuff on every menu. There's a much wider variety of things of restaurants in the U.S.
Mm.
There are a lot of them here, but as far as cuisines, I would much rather eat Indian or Mexican or Thai than the really fancy French stuff.
Yeah. Well, for one thing, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of it. Whenever they bring out those fancy plates and there's just this little dollop of whatever, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I should have gone to McDonald's before I came. I went to that restaurant.
Yeah. There are some things that I really like here. Foie gras, the first time I tried it was a little shocking.
Oh, yeah.
But then I've since sort of learned that, man, that's really good. And now we're coming into the time where everybody eats foie gras. So it's Christmas time. I can eat foie gras.
I need to try that. I want to try that sometime. I've heard a lot about it, but I've never had it. I don't even know where I would get it around here. So.
I don't know. It's, because we have foie gras here, we have really good duck and goose that you can buy in the grocery store. So the other thing that I really like is a duck breast that we cook here, and also some other preparations of duck.
So I think that brings us up to speed as far as what's going on in Jeff Blair's world up to this point. Unless there's something else you can think of that we haven't discussed. Or how many animals do you have being a vet?
I have 2 now. For a long time here in France, we didn't have any because we were moving all the time. We lived in little bitty apartments. And before we came here to Angers, we were in Paris. And we had maybe 100 meter square is, I think, 900 square feet, maybe.
In your apartment?
In the apartment.
Yeah.
And it was big, it was a big, expensive apartment for Paris.
Wow.
And then we came here and we bought a house, and we're just like, oh, we have all this space. We have like 4 bedrooms.
It's going to be luxurious compared to the apartment in Paris.
Yeah, and it's not like a luxurious house. It's just, wow, we got all this floor space. I can go in a separate room from the girls.
That's awesome.
Thank you for listening to the last of the Col-Hi Wildcats 1982 podcast, and we'll be right back after this.
Pop's Daylight Donuts, man, they've got the best tasting donuts, sausage wraps, pastries in Northeast Oklahoma. And also, if you'll tell the staff there, hey, Scott Townsend said to give me a large spicy pig, they'll give you a free large spicy sausage wrap. But you have to tell them Scott Townsend sent you. So tell them, hey, Scott Townsend told me to tell you to give me a large spicy pig. So there's the offer. There's the call to action. So go to Pop's Daylight Donuts. Say hi to Mark for me. And go to Pop's Daylight Donuts and get you some. If you've enjoyed this podcast in 2021, you have my patrons to thank for that. A bunch of Wildcats got together and created a GoFundMe account to help in the production of this podcast. So with that in mind, I've started a Patreon page so that listeners can help support the last of the Col-Hi Wildcats 1982 podcast on a month-to-month basis. So please check out my Patreon page, patreon.com/Wildcats1982. And now back to the show. Let's go back to Bartlesville. You know, in high school, I was looking through the yearbook. And do you still have it? You still have your
No.
You still have your yearbook?
No, when I moved here to France, I put every possession I owned out in the front yard, and the auction house came by and sold every except, like my underwear and socks and shirts. And I
Right.
put those in a suitcase, and that's how I got here. So unless it's at my mom's house in an attic,
Yeah.
that I don't know about.
So I was looking through there, and I saw, maybe I'll flash some pictures up here for people to see. But looks like you were in High Y. You went to Northeast Oklahoma State University with Kent Hudson, and you remember that?
Oh, for Boy State.
Yeah. And the girls, what was it? That was like Trisha Hines and Margaret Ogilvy or somebody like that.
Yeah, that told me to stay the hell away from politics.
Did it really?
Yeah.
What was it about that?
We had this sort of mini election, and I don't know exactly what we did, but what I remember is they had an election, and it was a popular vote, and the way these guys were going around just making stuff up, I was like, I don't want to have anything to do with this.
Now, was this at College High, or was this at the state level, the state thing you went to?
This was at the state thing.
Okay.
This was the boys' state.
All right. Okay.
Northeastern.
Yeah. So it starts that young, even, huh? Kids learn real quick how to finagle the vote.
I guess.
And then you were an FHA officer. Looks like you were with Trox. Well, it's a
Troxel.
Let's see here. Let's look it up and see what it says here. Nothing incriminating here, but
well, if me and Troxel were doing it together, I have no memory of it, and I highly doubt we did anything.
Oh man. Well, let's see here. So I think, oh come on, I could be wrong. It seems like, well, I'll keep going here, and I'll keep looking at all district football team.
Yeah.
And you were pimping the McDonald's restaurant ad at the back of the Chris service.
I worked at McDonald's.
Oh, did you?
High school. Yeah.
Huh.
I was like the assistant manager for a while.
Oh, wow. So it was you and Chris Service and Phil Pasquale in the picture with Laura Eastman.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Well, shoot. Stupid picture. Here. So, okay. So you worked at the McDonald's. What was now, Mark Thompson, talked to him. Did you see his?
Yeah.
He's talked about, I asked him what his fondest memories was, and he said it was something like sitting in your car listening to Pink Floyd, The Wall.
I'm surprised he said Pink Floyd. Because what I remember about that car and the music is I had one tape. It was Stevie Nicks, and it was stuck, and I couldn't get it out. So the only thing I could listen to was Stevie Nicks, and you just had to turn the tape over. The tape had one of those automatic reverses. So you listen to one side, then you listen to the other.
Yeah.
Even now, if I hear that song, White Winged Dove, it has a particular guitar intro. And if I hear that, I just turn the radio off real quick.
Well, that was one of my questions too, is what song takes you back to 82 when you hear it?
Well, that went in a bad way. The Wall in a good way.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. There was a song by Electric Light Orchestra.
Yeah.
I think when we were sophomores. And I just remember walking into the football locker room all those huge seniors, and they were playing that song. I can't even remember how it goes now, but I remember it was Electric Light Orchestra, and they would play it over and over and over. I was just terrified of those guys, and that song brings back shivers as well.
Oh wow, that's so cool. It's really weird how memory works.
Mhm.
Well, who were your friends? Who did you hang out with in high school? You mentioned Mark Thompson.
Yeah, Mark and I. Richard
And what car
Whitmer.
was it? What car was it
was-
you got?
It was a '79 Ford Mustang II hatchback.
Okay,
It
that's
was
right.
really cool. It was wheels. I didn't care.
Yeah. So
Um,
Mark, Richard Woodmeyer.
Yeah, Richard and I were really close for a long time until college, and I kind of lost track of him. So if you can track him down, I'd really love to hear from him.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. You're like the second person that's mentioned him. I can't remember the first person, but yeah, so if we
And
can
of
find
course,
him.
there was Jimmy Webb
Mhm.
and Steve Kramer, Kent Hudson, Chris Zervis,
Yeah.
Matt Newman.
Just talked to Matt, interviewed him
Oh yeah,
last week or 2 weeks
oh,
ago.
great!
So
Can't wait to see it.
those will be coming out in January.
I remember Todd Meyer-Dirk.
Yeah, I'm interviewing him next week, I think it is.
Great. And then Lori Liz, Trisha Hines,
Yeah.
Diane Hauntz.
Lloyd Hauntz was her dad. He
Oh,
was
yeah.
he was one of the scout guys, Troop 11, I think it was.
And Lisa Hutchins and Rhonda Rizzo.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the First Baptist Church, all the group people that, you saw 6 days a week instead of 5.
Yeah, that's cool. So when you think back to Col-Hi in high school, senior year, what's the funniest thing? I mean, do you have any fond memories of high school? Is there a funny story that you think back on that you can tell?
I wish I was a good storyteller. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
The worst part of senior year was Zervis's dad put braces on me in the second half of my junior year. So I had braces until I was like a sophomore in college.
Oh, wow.
Which, yeah.
Well, hey, you know what? I was just the opposite. I had braces when I was in the 3rd grade, I think it was, which was too young, really. I don't understand why they did that. This wasn't Chris Service. This was back in Texas, where I grew up, and I got hit in the mouth with a baseball bat. I was playing catcher, and the kid reared back to hit the ball. And these were back when the braces were like super metal, they were like,
and mine were too when I was senior in high school.
Yeah.
Chase girls down to go out dinner with me. Oh no. ugly brace face, get away from me.
Yeah. So anyway, the kid hit me in the mouth and reared back and hit me in the mouth, and my lips were just like a hamburger. They were stuck to the braces. And yeah, it was just gross. I literally had to pull the lips away from the braces, and golly, what a mess. Anyway.
Nasty.
Yeah. So I had braces when I was super little, which is probably just as bad as having braces. I don't know. Well, I don't know when a good
Were
time
you
is
trying to
have.
get dates when you're in 3rd grade?
No, but I really don't know why they did that. But to tell you the truth, but anyway, seems like when I was growing up, I was always going to the doctor. Always going to the doctor. I was the firstborn, and so there's a million pictures of me. There's always going to the doctor, and by the time my 3rd brother comes around, there's no pictures. There's no, it's just I'm exaggerating, but you know how it goes. Anyway, so where were we? Oh yeah, the funny story. So the worst story was getting braces.
Yeah. And I listened to Donnie talk about that run through the basketball championship. I do remember that time. That was really, I was charged up for those guys. They just sort of turned on a dime and became this unbeatable team.
Yeah.
And it was such a letdown when they did lose that game. But man, that was fun while it lasted. So
were you part of the prank or any of the senior pranks that went on with the pigs or the car?
I was sort of peripherally involved with the car thing, but the night they stuck it in the school, I had to close McDonald's. So
okay.
By the time I got off work, they were finished.
How'd they get it in?
One piece at a time.
Wow.
Not one piece at a time, but if you take anything off of a little MG car frame like that, it's not very heavy, and you get 4 high school guys around it.
Yeah,
it's easy to cart it across or into the doors even.
So how did they get in?
Well,
or do we need to say that, or save that for someone else?
I think the Jimmy Webb had a copy of the key.
Okay, we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, somebody had to have the key. Somebody had to have the key.
Remember all the doors being missing from the restrooms? But that's something you should ask Jimmy about too.
Okay.
Mr. Mellon was really angry about that.
Oh yeah.
That one almost got us in big trouble. Richard and I stole a bunch of sheets of plywood from a new house being built because Coach Ripley wanted them for the weight room. He wanted big sheets of thick plywood to go under the weights and stuff. And I look back at that and I said, well, we probably stole $1,000 worth of wood in today's money. You go look at one of those big 5/8 sheets of plywood. They're expensive.
They're expensive, yeah. Wow. Looking back on your graduation, I'll try to wrap it up here. What advice would you give your 18-year-old self, knowing what you know now?
Well, see, it's not spontaneous for me. I've had time to think about it.
Yeah.
I watched all your other videos, but I would tell myself that your mistakes won't kill you, but your reaction to them might. You need to learn to forgive yourself.
That's huge. Yep. I totally agree.
Yeah. I carried a lot of guilt for a long time.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, that forgiving yourself. Yeah, I was just thinking about that last night. You've got you should like yourself.
Yep. Yeah.
I was like, you love others, almost like a commandment. But it's another thing to like somebody. It's like your family, you love your cousins and whatnot, but it's another thing to actually like them,
Yeah, you want to hang out with them.
Yeah. So, the same thing for myself. Literally, I was thinking about this last night. You should love yourself, okay, but you should also like yourself.
Yeah.
And to like yourself, I guess there's a lot of if you don't give yourself a break and forgive yourself for things that have done, then it's hard to like yourself.
That's very true. It's a great coupling of my thought. Yeah.
So you like yourself now?
I do. Yeah.
Good.
I like my life. I like my family. We're well situated. We got no worries.
Yeah.
We have universal health care here. So.
Oh yeah. I read about that too. You guys have health care for everybody there. So I guess that's cool, huh?
Oh yeah. I don't know about you, but when I had a business and I was trying to provide health insurance for my employees, I really worried about making that payment because, if someone got hurt or, got sick, and they didn't have insurance because I hadn't paid the premiums. But here, we don't have that worry. My daughter Isabel was born 3 months early.
Oh, wow.
And she spent 3 months in the neonatal ICU, 24-hour care. You can imagine how much that would cost in the US.
Yeah.
We walked out of there, we didn't pay a dime.
I'll be.
We said, thank you very much. And they were like, take care of her. That was my introduction to the French healthcare and the quality of care. It would be, if I was in the US, I would be saying, wow, that's really good care. So quality is equal to or better than what you get in the US.
I'll be. That's interesting.
US healthcare, there's my soapbox. US healthcare is a for-profit industry. And here it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you have a for-profit industry, people are making money, it's going to be really expensive. And here, you can go and get a little medication, some Tylenol or something at the pharmacy, and it may cost a few cents, but that's one of the big benefits. Plus all the time off, getting paid, and I feel like I'm semi-retired sometimes with all the working from home that we do now, and all the time I have to take for vacation.
So how was COVID for you guys? I guess the same as it was here.
Same, yeah. Except I think the response over the long term may prove it was a little different. And instead of laying people off, the French government allowed companies to put people on unemployment, but they still kept all of their rights as an employee. It was a temporary unemployment. So the government started taking over their salary. So people here, if they got sent home, for the most, there are some jobs just they got fired. Some restaurants closed, but for the most part, people got sent home. They continued collecting a check. It was a little bit smaller than what they were used to, but as soon as things got a little better, the government ended the program, and you went back to work. I didn't get on unemployment. I run a site here, and there was no way I could not be there every day. So I continue to go to work. I have a team of about 15 or 20 people now that we run a research site, and we have animals out there. We have cows that are milking cows, and you have to milk them twice a day. We have pigs out there. We have dogs and cats. So, you got to be out there feeding them and taking care of them, even if you're not actually doing any research, because there's no researchers around. So I stripped down to a skeleton crew of about 6 or 7 people, but I had to keep going in and support them and provide veterinary support for them.
When I'm thinking about you and animals, and we're talking about COVID and the virus and the shutdown and all that stuff, I think about the bats. I'm thinking about bats, and they're saying that it came from bats, And so, what are your thoughts? What do you guys know about that?
That's true. Those people that figured that out are really smart. And bats are a known reservoir of all kinds of viruses. Something about their lifestyle and their immune system. They are a huge reservoir of all kinds of nasty viruses. So the way that they genotype that virus, there's no doubt to the smartest people in this field that that's a bat virus. Yeah, it's a bat virus.
So a bat way on the other side of the world, and then people on the total opposite side of the world are having to deal with something that bats messed up.
Yeah, and as a veterinarian, that's one thing I worry about. We are continually coming into contact more and more with wild species, and those kind of diseases that jump from animals into people, those are the kind that become pandemics or epidemics. So, we have no immunity to them. So we worry about that as a profession. The whole healthcare system worries about it. People who do the kind of disease surveillance for the WHO and stuff, they're very worried about something coming from an animal and getting into people.
But as we go into 2022, what are you looking forward to, and what concerns you?
I'm looking forward to being able to travel. That's one of the big reasons we wanted to come to Europe, was just be able to travel easily, and to travel back to the US. It's kept us from visiting our families. So we had plans to go back at Christmas this year. We planned it last year. So, okay, surely by Christmas, everything will be settled down. There won't be any problem, but we canceled those plans a while back.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can come next summer.
You plan on coming back for the reunion?
If I happen to be in the area,
in the States, yeah. What's your biggest concern with 2022?
Well, there's COVID, but I don't have a lot of worries. We can sit and worry all we want about politics and about viruses, but I don't have any acute worries that I lay awake at night about.
That's good. Yeah. It would be bad if you did have, if you were kept up at night worrying about stuff. Oh man. So, any last parting words to the Wildcats listening, watching out there?
Oh gosh, I really appreciate what you've done here. And I appreciate everyone who's participated. Please participate. I would especially like to hear what's happened to Billy Winter. She's a veterinarian also.
Billy Winter. Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't know she was a veterinarian.
I think I saw it somewhere, but she didn't go to OSU with me anyway. So I'd like to hear her story. Harder Ryan, Stephen Shiflett, Stephen Riddlebarger.
Harder Ryan, yeah.
Charles Penley and Philip Pasqua, Margaret Ogilvy.
Mm-hmm.
Just all these names keep coming back after seeing those videos. So,
But you're Pasqua,
doing yeah.
He's in town right now.
Oh, he is?
I think so, yeah.
Get your lasso. Go get him.
Yeah, he's in town. So I usually do these interviews via Zoom, because everybody is so far away. But I might find out what he's doing while he's in town and try to get him, James Jones and some others.
Oh yeah, James Jones. Mike Teague.
I haven't heard about him in a long time.
Jack Trotter.
Jack's in town, I think, yeah.
Oh, and Joe Wallace.
Joe Wallace
is in St. Louis.
Oh, yeah?
And I may have an old contact for him, or a contact that I had when I was near St. Louis. I'll try to send you the email.
Yeah. And that's usually how this thing works. Who was it? I was talking to Scott Crawley, and then I went to another person, and that person recommended Keith Richards, and then Keith Richards, Todd Meyerdirk, and Todd Meyerdirk, so it's kind of funny. It's really, people might wonder, how do these people get selected? They don't get selected. It's just whoever's, just like what you did, so then I go through and start trying to find.
So many that I've looked at that, I didn't know many of the people I didn't know well, the people you've interviewed. Man, it'd be so much cooler to go back and get to know people. If I could do high school again.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, that's exactly the way I feel.
Sort of staying in my little narrow lane.
Yeah. That's one of the things I've probably said this in the last 3 or 4 videos, podcasts, that I wish, just like what you said, I wish, I feel like I've wasted 39 years not being friends with everybody. And all of a sudden I'm, everybody, of course we're in a different place these days. When you're in high school, you're scared to death. And at the same time, you think you're cool or trying to be cool and trying to fit in and all that mumbo jumbo. And now guys like you and I and everybody else, school of hard knocks, life happens and you realize that you're just glad to be alive. And it's kind of life is the big equalizer.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, I really appreciate anything else you want to talk about before we...
Thank you, Scott. No, I think we've gone a lot longer than I thought we would. So.
Yeah, well, no, that's good. It was good. So,
I have some French people coming over for dinner, so I gotta go clean the kitchen.
So for Jeff, Blair, this is Scott Townsend. Thanks for watching, listening to the last of the Col-Hi Wildcats 1982 podcast. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks. Bye, everybody. Hope to hear from you. See you on the video.
The Last of the Col-Hi Wildcats 1982 podcast is a Dietzo Man production. Visit the Last of the Col-Hi Wildcats 1982 YouTube channel, listen on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.